I was at Gray Academy this past year, and a young student in high school asked me, what is the most important Jewish holiday? What is the most important Jewish holiday? And I bet she expected me to say Rosh Hashanah, or maybe Pesach, or maybe even make a case for Hanukkah. But when she asked me, Rabbi, what is the most important holiday, the Jewish holiday? I said, Purim. Now you probably are thinking, I'm joking or maybe being a little cheeky. Purim's a holiday for kids. It's goofy. We wear costumes. We make noise with groggers. And we get wasted. No, really, we're supposed to drink heavily. We're supposed to feast. But just hang on and consider this. Of all the Jewish holidays, and run through them in your mind, think about what your answer would be. I'm going to argue that Purim feels like the one that could and should resonate with us the most as Jews living in Winnipeg, in Canada, in 2019. Consider, Purim is the only biblical holiday to happen outside Israel. It is a diaspora holiday. A world where Jews are proud, but they are the minority. And where Jews have to think twice about how publicly they want to be Jewish. Being publicly Jewish gets Mordechai in a lot of trouble. And Esther even changes her name from a Hebrew name, Hadassah, to a Persian name, Esther, which in its Hebrew root literally means hidden. Consider that Purim is the only Jewish story where God's name is not mentioned. Not even once. There's no calling out to prophets. There's no bringing plagues. Anything God is up to in the Megillah is in the background. Subtle. It's hidden. And consider this. The subject matter of Purim, which we often overlook because of how absurd and ridiculous the whole story is the story of a non-Jew hating the Jews. A power-hungry ruler, hell-bent on destroying all of our people, who plans a systematic killing of everyone in the land. Does this sound familiar? It's a story about anti-Semitism. It's a story about our worst fears as a people and about our ability to stand up to it, to anti-Semitism and to hatred. So, what holiday could be more relatable to us today than Purim? One of the beauties, I always tell students of mine, of Judaism is how old it is, how long it's survived, thousands and thousands of years, how long our traditions have been around. But this also causes a problem, because often our celebrations feel distant, foreign, and unrelatable. What do these do for me now? Take, for example, the Torah reading on Yom Kippur. The Kohen Gadol using sacrificial animal blood to cleanse the sanctuary, and then standing with two goats, and they sin. It's hard to figure out how this fits into our lives today. But not with Purim. Not with its female heroine. Not with its Jews in the diaspora. Not with dealing with our greatest collective fear. What could be more modern and progressive and, again, more relatable? Get this. There's a midrash that says in the future, all the holidays are going to be nullified. I'm assuming this is when the Mashiach comes. But it says that when all the holidays are nullified, Purim will still be hanging around. Purim will outlast all the holidays. Okay, so this is the case that I made. Why am I telling you today? You remember last night, Kol Nidre? Miyom Kippurim zeh ad Yom Kippurim haba. And if you were following in the Hebrew in the Amidah, or if you listen to Rina and the Haftarah blessings, or if you read other parts of the Torah, we call it Yom Kippur, but the original name, the formal name, is Yom Kippurim. Purim is right there in the title. And even better, the Kabbalists, the mystics, they were fascinated by the name Yom Kippurim. In the Zohar, it's pointed out, the kaf in Kippurim, kaf means like. You say in Hebrew, ke, it's like. Yom Kippurim. They said that today is a day like Purim. But that doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? How could today be like Purim? I mean, you really couldn't pick two more opposite celebrations or commemorations in the Hebrew calendar. Purim and Yom Kippur. How could today possibly be like Purim? Well, for one, both days, Purim and Yom Kippur, are days of extremes. Two ends of the spectrum of human behavior. Purim is all about drinking to excess, feasting to excess, partying to excess. We are actually told we have to get to the point where we are so polluted that we cannot tell the difference between Haman and Mordechai. Yom Kippur is at the complete other end. It's all about extreme restraint. Don't eat, don't drink, don't work, don't have sex, don't wear leather, don't bathe, don't brush your teeth. Complete self-denial. In fact, the rabbis say every holiday on the Hebrew calendar has two parts, a part for ourselves and a part for God, except for Purim, which is all for ourselves, and Yom Kippur, which is all for God. Like two complementary pieces, a day like Purim. But that's not all. These are the two holidays that invoke the idea of a lottery. That's where the word Purim comes from, after all. The pur is the lot Haman draws to determine the date on which all the Jews will be killed. But Yom Kippur has lots too. We may not think about that as much with all the things going on, but we read it in the Torah reading. 2 goats, one marked for God, one marked for Azazel. And how does the Kohen Gadol determine? By drawing lots. Even later this afternoon in the story of Yonah, when there's this storm and everyone's on the ship, how do they figure out, the sailors, who's responsible for the storm? They draw lots. Yonah draws the short stick and gets tossed overboard. Both holidays invoke extreme behavior, but both holidays invoke the idea of lots, of a lottery, of chance, of randomness. The idea that, yes, we have free will, yes, we have influence over our lives, no question, but ultimately, there are just some things that are out of our control. Do we really know what the next year holds for us? Do we really know? We like to think we do. We like to think that if we eat healthy, that if we maybe change our ways, good things will happen. But do we really know? Whether you believe in God or don't, you cannot deny the fact. Sometimes life changes as quickly and as drastically as the events in Purim, where one day the Jews are doomed, and the next day they're partying in the streets, where one day Mordechai is going to be hanged, and the next day he's the prime minister, where one day it's so hot in the sanctuary you can't breathe, and the next day it's so cold. 70-year-old building. After all, we have the expression, don't we? Our lot in life. This is the nature of human existence. There is always an element of unpredictability, chaos, chance, vulnerability. We do our best, but it's always there. So today is supposed to be a day like Purim. It's kind of making my case for me. The rabbis say that Yom Kippur is good, but Purim is the ultimate, where we have these feelings, where we have this idea of the lottery and of the randomness in our lives. And I say, that's bogus. I was wrong. Purim is easy. Purim is fun. Purim is a party. Purim is the ultimate best day in life. It's all the good things in life. It's being together with friends and family. It's the ultimate simcha, like a bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah celebration on steroids. That's Purim. Purim is all about losing perspective. Yom Kippur is an extreme day where we're aware of randomness and chaos and frailty and vulnerability. But Yom Kippur is hard. Purim is the wedding. Yom Kippur is the breaking of the glass, the sober second thought that reminds us, no matter how good things are, there is always something that needs fixing. We publicly admit our sins. We admit to ourselves, if we're honest and we do it properly, all the places where we really kind of sucked. And we commit ourselves to being better. We physically hit ourselves. We fast, we abstain, and we deny. And then we have things like the LAS Karab, where we remember all the atrocities committed against our people. On Purim, it almost happened. On Yom Kippur, we remember that it did happen. And for some of us, in our lives. And then this last piece we're about to get to, where we say Yizkor, where we think about not collective pain, but individual pain, where we remember the people we've lost and the people we miss. And a lot of these people who it feels were taken from us too soon for no explanation, as if by some lottery. And that final piece that leaves us hanging at the end of the service, that's what makes us reevaluate everything we do in this next year. Miyom Kippurim zeh ad Yom Kippurim haba. Purim is easy. Yom Kippur is hard. But that's why Yom Kippur is great. And that's why my answer isn't complete. Purim is an important holiday, but not without the Yom Kippur to bring us back down and to remind us how lucky we are when we have those moments to celebrate. It does say in the Midrash, Purim will outlast all the holidays. But it says in the Torah, and we read it today, the commandments of Yom Kippur are chok olam, a law for all time. So at the end of it all, there will be Purim, but there will also be Yom Kippurim. And we probably need the Yom Kippurim just a little bit more. Wishing you all an easy fast, a Chatima Tova, and of course a Shana Tova for the year ahead.